Now we have team battle. DS taking on SH, and the first is Golden Leo on our side in his first team battle using Shadow Paladin Witches up against Sirvat, leader of the other team, using Shadow Paladin Revengers. Leo decides to do double mulligan. And starts with Sequana. Drive check's a grade 2, so as long as Leo has a grade 3 in hand, he shouldn't be misriding. So now we have grade 2, Masquerade, and McCart. McCart attacks first. And Leo gets stand trigger. Helps ease the guard, but this still hits. Unless Leo's prepared to drop 10k shield for it. Which wouldn't be a bad idea because Leo is running Legion deck anyway. But it doesn't do it. So now grade 2. Rides a Deer Day. DJ. Nah, it's early. This team battle I thought was going to happen in an hour, but it turns out that they expected it to start an hour ago. They said 11. I agreed to 11, but they were talking about 11 Eastern, though they didn't tell me that. Skull Witch Domain appears, so counterblast 1 and discard a card to draw 2. So Leo has to decide what to discard. Discards the grade 2, the 12k attacker. Because he had another in hand anyway. Calls Suzuka, which is a strange choice. Not a bad choice, but a strange choice. So Yvonne gets a draw trigger, which means Skull Witch can't hit the Vanguard, can't hit the rear though, which would technically be better for the situation. One passes the Vanguard, and no trigger. Leo can attack the rear. And will. The grade 3 ride is Cormac, which means Judge Bow more than likely won't be happening for a long time, but unfortunately for Leo, Cormac's ability gives itself one critical by retiring just one unit. No counterblast cost or anything. Intercept with Skull Witch in the main immediately, as it should be. 19k at the Vanguard. Leo no guard, still needs 2 in drop zone before Legion is active. And there's the third 12k attacker gone, although one is being Legion back into the deck anyway. Based on Leo's hand, he's forced to make a lot of calls to the field that would have been better used at different points in the game. But as long as he can generate some offense, it's going to be a benefit. So grade 3 rides Fianna. And Stride. That's actually an interesting, well, depends on the hand. It actually might be the best option. The only way that Leo would get away with being able to do Fianna's ability is if he could find a way to get under the Gray Zero on the field. Since the Gray Zero is in the drop zone, it would technically be possible to do. Oh, there's a third Fianna. You can do it anyway, later. So that's 12. Don't let the fact that that's just 9k fool you, that's actually 12. Chooses to go for Cormac. Can't tell if it's because Leo thinks it's only 9, but either way it's a good option. Because Cormac's ability would give him a free Revenger in rest anyway. No guards the Vanguard. And Leo gets 3 checks. Rias, grade 2 that I don't know what it is, and draw trigger. Sirvat gets a heal that doesn't heal. Gives the power to the rear guard because he doesn't want to have so few field. He can't use Judge Bow to refill his resources, so all of his field is coming from hand. I would take advantage of that and attack that rear guard. Especially because the attack is for 22 anyway. Either make him give up 2 cards in hand or let him lose that unit. And he has to give up more hand to call more. And that's exactly what Leo is doing. And drops 2 10Ks. That could actually be really beneficial to Leo later. Although now he can Legion. Brings out Phantom Blaster Abyss. The extra hand that came from that stride is more than likely going to really help Leo now. So even though Sirvat is doing this, he has to drop most of his hand just to get the skill off. Because he needs to call one more unit from hand just to do it, which means he's only going to have 2 in hand. Calls Mana. Mana's skill is going to get out another unit behind Mana. So is he going to reduce himself to 1 card in hand just to get this off? Because with only 3 damage, and because he's calling a column that could be guarded with only 5k, the idea of him ending it here is kind of off. Starts off with 15 to the Vanguard. Leo has enough in drop to Legion as it is, but Leo reconfirms that it's to the Vanguard because the light is blinking and not being solid. It's only a 5k block. I'd guard it, especially considering that he's going to try to do Phantom Blaster Abyss's ability. He's also soft locked himself out of Judge Bow. He can still do it, but he'd actually have to lose field to call things over, which wouldn't be a plus at that point. It would be good deck thinning, but it wouldn't be a plus. So blocks with 5k. Leo taking his time, which is a very good idea. You should do that in these situations. 27k. I don't know every card in Leo's hand, so I can't say if he has guard for this or not. All the grade zeros are outside of Sirvat's drop zone now. Can't use Judge Bow, so that's... But it's going to go into the drop zone as well. Critical trigger. No triggers. That's bad for Leo. Now he has to commit his hand to guarding everything else. $22k with 2 criticals. I don't think Leo has the guard for this because he has a grade 3 and a lot of 5ks in hand. Drops a quintet wall. Heal trigger was the first card on the quintet wall. And critical trigger to the rear. If 3 of those units are 5k, Leo can guard because of the intercept. Basically, as long as there's only 1 grade 3 in hand, Leo can guard. it was really unfortunate that Leo got so many triggers in the quintet wall and none in the damage checks, and Leo's not really drive checking any either. Leo's thinking really hard, counting, making sure he has guard. By my count, as long as he only has one grade 3 in hand, he can guard. At the same time, though, I don't know Leo's hand. He could have more than that in hand. I wouldn't know. Oh, that's perfect guard. So Leo actually saved the perfect guard for the rear and used the quintet wall in the vanguard because it would need less guard if another trigger appeared. Smart move. Doing that took the random chance factor out of what might have come from the quintet wall. And now Leo has enough to Legion. It's just a matter of what to Legion. I see 2 heals in that drop zone, so we're probably going to see those go back. I wouldn't be surprised if the stand trigger went back as well. And then the 4th card, I'd probably have Fam. Maybe the perfect guard. But I would have Fam just to have more Fams around. So 2 heals. I would say Stand and Fam if it was me. Stand. So is the 3rd one going to be Fam or is it going to be something else? I mean, is the 4th one going to be Fam or is it going to be something else? Fam or Perfect Guard are technically the best options. Unless Leo really wants triggers in the back and decides to put the draw. Critical trigger and 10k attacker. And then the second set of checks was critical trigger and sword breaker. So 2 10ks, 2 5ks, and a mystery card are his hand. And I did not see the 4th card that went back. Witch of Cat. Yeah, I really should have paid attention to what that was. Because now I missed it. So he got quite a lot of grade 0s from that, actually. Technically, Sirvat is the one who chooses 2. He chooses the non-Revenger draw trigger. Very strange and interesting choice. Also chooses the critical trigger. So there's one less critical trigger in the deck. Very odd. So first is 12k to the Vanguard, no intercepts anymore. I'm surprised Leo didn't retire a unit and draw 2. Might not feel like he has the hand to make up for it. Depends on what comes in the twin drive, whether or not that was a good idea. Because if we see triggers, I'll say right now that Leo was better off to not do that. Stand trigger. And grade 2. You could have used Lear, but didn't. Takes another one and then guards the other rear. It's only 4 cards in hand now. Leo could have increased his hand, but all things considered, this could be better. Not to mention that to actually have those 2 grade 0s are going to hurt him unless he decides to retire for them. Calls 2 units, keeps the 2 triggers out, and puts another one out, going for endgame. But one of those columns won't hit the Vanguard at all. The other one is only a 5k block. The big damager is the Vanguard itself, which is hitting first. So if this can be guarded, Leo probably has enough to guard the rest. Now the thing about this is that Leo has a chance to win if this goes through. I mean, if this gets blocked, if Leo can block this, he has a chance of winning the whole thing, is what I'm trying to say. And unfortunately, Leo can't just guard with his entire hand right here, because even if no triggers appear, that 10k column can go for the rear guard, and then the 14 attacks the Vanguard. Quintet wall. So the top 2 would have been a 5k and a stand trigger. So it would have been the same either way. So I say again, he should have counterblasted and retired. That's 31k to block, needs more just to be guard. The 10k would be 2 pass though. The stand trigger would be 2 pass. Ooh, and he has a critical trigger. So even better. So that's 2 pass. Sirvat is in a position where you would risk. First check is critical trigger. Is he going to risk it on the Vanguard or give it to a rear? There's a lot of triggers on the field. Gives it to the rear. And the second is perfect guard. Wouldn't have gotten it. That 10k is going to go to the rear fam. Leo lets it die. And then 19 at the Vanguard. We saw stand trigger from the twin drive check, so we know that Leo has guard for this. I want to say all Leo needs is 3 attacks and he can win right here. Sirvat says N-E-N-N and doesn't know what that means. Goes into main phase, not riding anything. I'd like to see Leo retire Fianna to draw 2. Calls the 8k unit. Speed a mill. It gains 3k when attacking the Vanguard if there are 2 or more grade 0s on the opponent's field. Since that is the case now, it is 11k attacker. And calls Deer Day, which means Leo can now Soul Blast 1 and turn that McCart into a grade 0, which means no intercept. Which means the perfect guard is really going to be the only reliable means that Sirvat has to guard. So it's going to be forced to take at least 1 attack. 11k to the Vanguard. And takes the hit. And Leo wins. Game 1 goes to Leo. Good job. I would have liked to see Leo retire Fianna or Fam in the last turn to draw 2. But I admit there's a luck factor in that with changing your top deck. Would have been the same both ways, but who knows what the quintet wall would have given if he had done that, so. Good games either way. It worked out. On to the next match.